any major historical events occur in Rosedale?
Oh, well, when the city government back in the early 70s and 60s, I think, that's when we started having more black participation in the government. That's when we had black people on the council. I think the first one was Afton Lee, and then the next one was Montgomery, the next one was Lee, and the next one was Hamner.
How hard was it for blacks to get into office?
It wasn't hard to see because they were running from districts.
Okay.
See, when they sliced it up, Rosedale was a district. That's
So
part
y'all
of it.
just got them on in there.
Just about.
Okay. Or would you, those names that you just named, would you consider those key community leaders, or would there be some community leaders back in the inside of the community, like the mother of the community or a father of the community that you can remember?
They was part of the community and leaders of the community.
Okay.
They were more like your representatives, really, to the government.
Were they very hands-on, or did everybody know them?
Oh, everybody knew them.
You could talk to them.
Oh, you could talk to them.
What type of job? Do you feel they did a good job?
I think they did.
Okay.
I think they really did. Rosedale today is a very close-knitted family. They don't shy away from adversities. They embrace them as they go along together, and they resolve their differences together. And this is the only way we can maintain our identity.
And that's very good, Mr. Sheppard. To me, it seems like Homewood the development that's been going on in Homewood isn't even affecting everybody in the community, other than them saying they want to leave. Has the community been able to really stand strong and firm?
Oh, yes, definitely.
If you can go back to Rosedale today, would you?
Oh, yes.
You would go back and
Well, I could go back now. It doesn't make it up, but I'd rather be where I am now.
Mr. Sheppard, would you like to see a Rosedale Homewood annexation to bring our city back to the life it was and how everybody wants it to be?
Yes, but if you're going to bring it back, let it be back for the betterment of the community. I just sit back thinking about when I was a kid, how we were raised up in Rosedale. We used to play sandlot baseball, and football. In those days, back then, they had a law in the books that white and blacks couldn't play together. See what I'm talking about? This wasn't so in Rosedale, because we used to sneak and play together anyway.
Yes, sir.
We used to play sandlot baseball and football together.
Black and white still.
Yes, sir. Right out there on, we called it the ball diamond.
Yes, sir.
And even what's so unique about Rosedale, the school system during that time frame, naturally it was segregated, but Chase Valley and Rosedale High communicated together. We have concerts, and they would come to our concert. We in turn would go down and play for them at their concert. Just the whole thing was this community togetherness.
Okay. If Homewood today, if Homewood come in and say we want to take over everything, we're gonna leave Rosedale, we're gonna leave everybody in Rosedale. We're gonna give you a little extra money so we can take a few houses. Would you go for that?
Definitely not.
Even if this means bringing in a lot more money into the community?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. Why not?
Well, once you start biting off the hand, after a while you want to hold on. So you stopped it in the beginning.
Okay. I can understand that totally. What's one thing that you want people outside of Rosedale to know about Rosedale?
I would like them to know that it is a thriving community, even though there are some obstacles to overcome. And I would like them to know as a whole, Rosedale and Homewood together, Homewood have one of the best, if not the best, school system in the state of Alabama.
Okay. talking about school system. Are you open for the community to grow it? And how much do you think Rosedale can grow? Now, do you think Rosedale can make a whole other neighborhood, or it's just a few houses left for people to come in and move into Homewood, or what? Rosedale, I'm sorry.
Well, there are a few, but Rosedale cannot expand anymore. They're just like Homewood. They're landlocked. They can't go anywhere. See, they're together. You have Mountain Brook on one side. You have English Village on the other side. Then you have Birmingham on the other side.
Okay, I understand that totally. With that being said, do you think there is a future of Rosedale?
Oh, definitely so. Never give up hope.
Never give up hope.
Never.
The community being so many older people in Rosedale, is it going to be some more youth coming in?
We have some youth over in Rosedale.
Yeah.
And they
talk about the youth now and what experience that they're having in Rosedale.
Yes, we have really what we do have. We have a job situation. We need some jobs for our young people and old people too, middle-aged people too, just to survive.
Yes, sir.
Because I think that's a national problem, really.
What type of jobs are available in Rosedale?
There's no developed jobs in Rosedale, period. You'd have to go to service units outside of Rosedale.
You feel like in Rosedale today is better than it was when you were a child?
Oh, yes.
In what ways?
Well, in a lot of ways, really. You have more opportunities than you did when I was a kid. You have more opportunities now. You could own a business up in Homewood now. You couldn't do that when I was a boy.
Mr. Sheppard, let me ask you this. What's your first memory of Rosedale?
I would think my first memory was when I was about 4 years old. We lived on 19th Street in Rosedale. That's what I remember about Rosedale. We used to play a lot, under the houses, cars, and little wagons and things of that nature, as a small child would. Then I started school when I was 6 years old in Rosedale. Only the teacher lived right down the street from where we lived at, so she would walk us to school almost every day. And we'd come back with her when school was out. There were some memories I knew about Rosedale when I was a child. That's about what first time I remember about Rosedale.
Okay, during your childhood, going to grade school, what stuck out about school in Rosedale back then?
Stuck out about Rosedale during that time frame that we had to walk to school. We didn't have the privilege of riding buses and all this kind of thing. Not in Rosedale, but we had kids come from across the county. Like Mason City came to Rosedale, Leeds came to Rosedale, Overton came to Rosedale. It was a county school.
Mm-hmm. How were they getting that back then?
Buses.
Buses.
The bus would bring them over.
You talked about the clay streets. Was it red clay or just dirt that was on the street?
It was red clay.
Red clay.
Oh, yes.
I guess it was a messy situation when it rained.
Oh, definitely so.
Did it flood a lot?
Oh, yes. Low-lying areas it definitely did. It's hard getting back and forth, especially in low-lying areas.
Okay. Did you guys have streetcars in Rosedale, or was it mostly, I know you said buses, but...
Those were school buses I was referring to then, to bring the kids to school. We had streetcars came over the mountain from Rosedale to Birmingham.
Were you ever able to ride the streetcars?
Oh, yes. Mm-hmm.
Back then, how was the streetcar experience for blacks? The same as the bus situation?
Definitely so. You had certain sections you sit in. White sitting in front, black sitting in the back. You
ever had a negative experience on the bus?
I didn't.
Have you ever
oh, yes. I've witnessed quite a few of them. Confrontation, about where we going to sit and all this kind of thing.
Tell me about one in particular that kind of sticks out to you.
Yeah, that was a situation that occurred. We was going to Birmingham on a streetcar. See, they have those boards that separate black from the whites. The black sit in the back and the white was in the front. This particular Caucasian was halfway to bus, and blacks had to stand up because they couldn't sit in the front of this board. And the white fellow wouldn't move. Even the streetcar operator tried to get him to move up so that black people could sit down, you know. But he refused to move, so 2 or 3 black people moved him anyway.
You picked him up?
Oh, yes. And even when they called the police, you know, they just shoot it off. He told him, the streetcar driver, owned that streetcar during that time frame. You must do what he said do. So that squished that right quick.
So they actually went out and bought their own streetcars and
Yeah, well, no.
provided services.
Well, it came from Birmingham, over the mountain. Birmingham Electric Company owned them then, as opposed to Alabama Power. Now they call it Alabama Power. It used to be Birmingham Electric. No, that's myself.
When did you get your first car?
Excuse me?
When did you get your first car?
16.
Yeah, 16. You staying in Rosedale still?
Oh, yes. Going to school in Rosedale.
How was that experience for you?
Oh, beautiful. You know how the kids is in their first car and they graduate from high school and going to prom, all that kind of thing.
Okay. You have any problems with driving around, or did you have to, were you like the designated driver for everybody back then, or what?
Well, yes. Mm-hmm.
A lot of people in the community, a lot of your friends have cars, a lot of the community.
Not really. There wasn't too many cars in the community during that time frame.
How did it make you feel being one of the students in the car?
Oh, man, it made me feel tremendous, you know. But it made me feel humble, too, because my father and mother worked hard to get me in that little car, you know.
Yes, sir.
It made me feel grateful.
How far was your house from the actual school?
Oh, about a block.
So
I could walk.
To school still, or you drove?
I walk.
Okay.
Walk to school.
Okay. Being in a segregated neighborhood, how was it?
Well, we didn't ever have any confrontation as related to segregation in our neighborhood, because there was always a boundary.
Was the Klan prevalent back then?
Oh, yes, it was there.
You never had an experience with it?
No. I never had any experience with them at all.
Since you didn't have any experience with the Klan, I think that was one of the most scariest situations back then. What's your most vivid memory of segregation?
I suppose when I couldn't go to the fair that was in Birmingham. They used to have a fair every year, you know. You just had 7 days blacks could do, and some days white could do. And I didn't know why. I didn't want to know why was this situation like that, you know.
How old were you?
I suppose I was about 15 years old during that time.
Because as a teenager, how did it make you feel when you turned down?
Very let down. Supposed to be a citizen of Birmingham, and you had that distinction between black and white people.
When the civil rights movement started taking place, how did that affect Rosedale?
Well, we was involved, that's for sure, you know. A lot of kids in Rosedale and grown-ups participated in marches.
No, participation was a lot in Rosedale. How did it affect you personally?
Well, I was in it too.
Were you
I was marching too.
teenager, were you adult?
Oh no, I was an adult then. I was working at U.S. Steel.
Was there any riots or major riots or fights that used to break out in Rosedale?
No, not to my
Rosedale
knowledge.
was real peaceful.
Oh yes.
Okay. You talked about the boundaries. How were the boundaries set?
Oh. You know, you say Rosedale so far, Edgewood come up so far, and Hollywood came up so far, and they touched each other. That's where you knew where your boundaries were, by where you lived, really. Well, hopefully we will survive, that's for sure. Hopefully that through the help of God, we will maintain Rosedale.